everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia, and I am the program manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat. But before we begin, I'd like to quickly review two items: our code of conduct and event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. This session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. I will be sharing the link in the chat for our channel. And if you have not been on a live stream through YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now. And if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us through social media or through our website. Wish to access to today's session. Today is day 3 of the Building Intelligent.NET Apps with Azure Open AI series. I'm going to bring in our speakers here for today, Luis and Humberto. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome to session number 3 of this series about OpenAI, about .NET. So where are you joining us from today? So let us know because we would be really glad if, let's say, to greet you, to know where are you joining from today. I have a very good friend who is going to teach us a lot of great information. Hello, Humberto.
Hi, Luis. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm really fine and excited about this topic. I think that it is important that once we, let's say, start developing some applications using this generative AI technology to improve, let's say, how we use it, we will get better results and we will also, let's say, optimize the usage of this technology. But before we get into the technical details, can you introduce yourself? Where are you from? What do you, let's say, do every day? And yeah, about your experience.
Okay, my name is Humberto. I am from Mexico City. I am Microsoft MVP about Microsoft Azure and software development. My specialty is .NET MAUI, in the past Xamarin, but I have around 10 or 11 years of experience using Azure since the old Silverlight portal. And of course, AI it's an important topic to learn nowadays. So I have been learning about GPT and other models since last year, maybe a little more. I like to learn about marketing. So I think I start to hear about GPT more in marketing forums, Facebook groups, and later in the technology ones, because all of the stuff about programmers are going to disappear because the artificial intelligence. It happens the same in marketing and other related areas of creativity. I don't know if programming is a lot of creativity or not. It's a different topic, but programs are going to disappear, and that kind of sentences that you can find in several forums.
Yes. What a journey, Humberto. And yeah, I agree that sometimes maybe it's to catch your attention. Maybe some YouTubers or people, let's say, wants to get people engaged with their. It's also kind of marketing strategy. Oh, developers are going to disappear because of AI. So that's like the title of the video or the meeting, and then everyone comes and let's say shares their like opinion, like no because of the reason, or yes because AI is so powerful. And yeah, but yeah, I think we can agree that yeah, we are not going to disappear. We still have a lot of work. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting, let's say, a journey that you combine the AI marketing and also software development, of course. And well, I would also like to invite everyone to share about their experience with GPT. Maybe it is the first time or not at all. If I can share just something, in the morning I was just attending some online event that, well, it was happening in Bratislava, nearby, and the question that the presenter asked at the beginning was, how many of you use GPT? And I would also like to ask people, how many, or our attendees, how many of you use it? And he said that it was about 75% of people in the room, but he said that by the end of the year, 90% will definitely use it, because well, it is really engaging and helpful, let's say, technology. And well, today you are going to talk about prompt engineering, which is, as we mentioned, and as part of, let's say, the previous series, our also speakers, Daniel and Pablo, talk a bit about it and how to improve results. But we will also, let's say, learn the details from you. So we are really excited about it. So don't forget also that there is, let's say, a challenge. Let's say you can learn a Microsoft Learn challenge where you can learn about these topics. So we invite you also to join the challenge and share your thoughts with us. Humberto, are you ready? Anything you would like to add before we get started?
I am ready for the session. We don't have a lot of time, so I think it's better to
Yes.
start with the presentation.
Yes, definitely. 1 hour goes really, really fast. Just one more question. Do you prefer questions at the end, or as soon as they, let's say, arrive?
If if the topic of the or the question is related to the session, you can interrupt me. If not, we can talk about the questions at the end of the
Mm.
session.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So thank you. And the stage is yours.
Thank you, Luis. As Luis told before, I am going to talk about prompt engineering techniques with Azure Open AI and .NET. I encourage you to see the recording of the last sessions, because I am not going to talk about a lot about the basics of Azure Open AI and .NET. I am going to focus the sessions around prompt engineering. Normally, these slides, it comes in the end of the sessions, but I prefer to share these resources, these courses at the beginning, because a lot of the techniques and tips that I am going to share in this session comes from these resources. So I am going to give the credit to the authors. I recommend the is a full for an Andrew Engine course. It's a free course in deeplearning.ai, a plural site course from Amber Israelsen, and of course the OpenAI documentations about best practices for prompt engineering. So I recommend a lot these links related to the session. If some of you don't look at the last sessions, I am going to give a brief summary about Azure OpenAI. Azure OpenAI is a service that provides REST APIs to powerful models like GPT-4, GPT 3.5 Turbo, and other models. You can take a look of all of the functionalities in the Azure portal. You need, of course, an Azure Open AI service. And when you have the service in your Azure account, you can create some deployments related to the different models. So for example, here in the portal, I have two deployments, one for GPT-4 and another for GPT-4 32K. I am going to use the GPT-4 model, but if you need a different model, you can create a new deployment, choose the model, the AI model, and that's all. Also, you have to give a name, but it's a very basic implementation. I won't create the new deployment because it takes around 5 minutes to start to be useful for us. So I am going to use one of the previous models. And that's all about Azure Open AI. I already talked some things about the deployments. So let's start talk about prompt engineering in AI. What is a prompt? Within AI and machine learning, a prompt serves as the primary input for our models. We are looking for a response, so we need to ask from something to the model, and this content is fundamentally important when interacting with models. So the quality of the response depends a lot of the prompts that we give to the model. So it's important to improve our prompts. So that is the main purpose of prompt engineering. And there are several definitions for prompt engineering. I take this from the models, actually, from the GPT-4 model. And GPT told me that prompt engineering is an specialized technique employed predominantly in AI, particularly with language model, where the input or prompt to the model is carefully crafted to guide the model towards generating a desired output. So basically, what we need is to improve our inputs to get better responses. And in the OpenAI documentations, we can see a different definition. It's not a definition, but is the statement that we can see in the link. And prompt engineering is due to the way the instruction following models are trained or the data they are trained on. There are specific prompt formats that work particularly well and align better with the task at hand. So it's more related to make better instructions, better inputs for our models. Prompts that work well. The most important thing about create good prompts is to follow an iterative approach. It's a basic approach. We need to design and implement the prompts, start to create basic prompts, align it with our objectives, and of course, test the prompts in the model that we are going to use in our developments. After that, we have to evaluate the responses, test the quality of the responses, and of course, we have to optimize the prompts to get better results. And we can repeat this process several times until we find the best results for our problems. So it's very, very important to test and evaluate our prompts and very, very specific to the problems that we want to solve. Sometimes you can find in the market some resources like 10 prompts to solve this problem. 10 prompts to make the best blog posts in the market. So, and maybe that solutions works, but we as software developers have more challenge to create better software to give the users the best user experience. So normally buy a set of prompts is not the best options for us. So I am going to share some techniques about prompt engineering, and after that I can share a little program created with .NET that implement some of the techniques and some other tips that I can share with you. So in the part of theory or these topics in text, I am going to share the first and the most important idea. We have to create prompts that be that has clarity and specificity. And I took this sample from the OpenAI documentations instead of write a poem about OpenAI. You can create a better prompt if you include some details about the poet's style, or the topic about you want the response, the result poem. So it's really important to be specific and make the prompt the most clear for the artificial intelligence. Eh, Artificial intelligence try to complete the sentence using some mathematics algorithms and other kind of processing. So it's not the same as we ask other person from some specific information. So that's why we have to help the models to understand better our instructions.
And if I might add a bit, Humberto, everything
Sure, Luis.
that he is saying, let's say, applies also when you want to, uh, let's say, generate images. We might see a lot of examples with, let's say, text generation, question answering, but it also you can create, let's say, better images, maybe more creative or more close to what you really want if you also specify, okay, draw a, let's say, a cat, let's say, that looks like a superhero, but then maybe you can specify the, I don't know, maybe the size or the draw style, like, okay, draw it as if it was like painted by maybe Van Gogh. Okay,
Yeah.
nowadays there is a famous, let's say, Pokemon card, Pikachu, Van Gogh, and maybe it got help from AI. How would Van Gogh draw a Pikachu? And maybe, I don't know, what you can get something like that. So yeah, these techniques apply for text, for also the DALI model, and even, why not, for code, maybe for code generation. But yeah, it is, let's say, important just to understand that part. So yeah.
Thank you, Luis. That's why it's important to be clear and specific, because if Luis is expert creating Pokemon cards, he can infer that I want a Pokemon card style image, but the model is not or doesn't have the experience or the information related to what I want. So it's important to specify what kind of style, what kind of images, colors, and other stuff that I want in
Yeah,
my results.
yeah, maybe we want something monochromatic or something with really specific colors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Other important technique is use delimiters like quotes, backticks, dashes, angle brackets, XML tags, and you can use any other delimiter that you want, but it's really, really important to use they because this can prevent the user's input from affect the instructions. Uh, I have this sample. I use the prompt summarize the text between text and text mx styles into a single sentence, and I have this long sentence about course or about a session related to microservices development. And sometimes if you have some instructions in this text, you can, or maybe the model gets confused between your main instruction in the prompt and the text that you are going to analyze. So that's why it's very, very important to use this kind of delimiters. Uh, the model take this input from the user as the text that it has to analyze instead of taking account the instructions between these texts. So sometimes the user intentionally or unintentionally may try to perform a sort of prompt injection. So that's why this technique helps us to avoid undesired results. Another technique is to summarize the output. Another important technique is that we give instructions that limit the model response. We can tell the model to summarize, telling it how many lines of text, how many characters, how many words, or a different mechanism that help us to make the answers more concise. Remember that models in Azure Open AI has a pricing depending of the tokens. So this is really, really important to avoid overpricing in our resources. And it's as simple as the limitations in the prompt, like in this prompt, summarize the text between text and text in 2 lines, in for each character, in 40 words. So it's the same text or related text about microservices. I am using the last technique about using delimiters. Now I have the new technique. And another technique is focusing on the receiver of the response. So if we are going to create some text or image for different target audiences, we can add this audience to the prompt. In this sample, I asked the model to create course descriptions about microservices, but the result that I want is created for uh, human resources departments who are looking for train their company employees. Or I can change the prompt and I can ask the model to generate the same course descriptions, but in this case, the description is designed for developers with .NET experience who are looking to learn about new technologies. So using this technique, we can change the tone of the result, and it's very useful when we want to use a more formal structure or a more formal syntaxes or more informal for other target audiences. So it's important to take in account that the receiver of the response, the final user for our programs, is the most important part of the prompt when we use this technique. let me. Another technique is try to focus our prompts on in most important aspects. For example, I have the same text about microservices, but now I want to get the keywords or the names of the technologies. So my prompt is from the text between the limiters, extract the technology names. And I can get a result that told me the topics of the text like .NET, SQL Server, DevOps, CI and CD, and another related technologies in the session, in this sample session. Another technique is structuring the output. Sometimes as a developers, we need specific outputs, more practical outputs for our programs. We have to parse the response from the model so we can have some help if we ask the model for a desire or for a specific kind of output. So I have this prompt, summarize the text between the limiters in 3 lines, also as a list of tags. I need the response in a JSON format with keys, course description, and a JSON array with the key technologies. So this is a very useful prompt for software developers because we can get the JSON structure and parse JSON is very, very easy in almost of the programming language. So take this into account to create better prompts when you are going to use the responses in some kind of application that you are going to develop. Because a lot of times the prompt engineering techniques are created thinking more in ChatGPT users or the chat web UI interface. And we need to think more about how to improve our prompts for software development. As .NET software developers, we need that kind of techniques. So the last technique from this slide is related to code generations. Sometimes it's important to use leading words, like in this prompt. The prompt is write C# REST minimal API that has one get method that returns 5 random countries. And the leading word in the prompt is the first line of the minimal APIs because, for example, there may be times when I ask the model to generate a minimal API, but it generates a controller-based API, and that's what not what I want to get. And it's not hard to use the code generated by the model if it is created using controller-based API code, but it's better if I can help the model to understand why is the first line of my program, and the model can complete the rest of this. So anything that you want to add, Luis?
Yes, well, don't forget that especially if we are accessing the API, let's say Azure Open AI API, this costs money for you or for your company. So if you can get your expected result, let's say from the first try, yeah, that of course will save you money. Or on the other hand, applying these techniques or prompt engineering techniques can uh, improve, let's say, your chances that you get some expected output or in the format that you want. That also can help you to create, let's say, smaller programs, because you don't need to convert the output from the API request to, I don't know, get to some JSON, because you will always get JSON. But then if the data is already like in JSON format because you want to save it, let's say, or store it in a database, yeah, you will directly send the data part from your output to your store, and you don't need to serialize, to convert, to fix it. You also your program is also faster and, let's say, straight to the point.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Also, I forgot about to put some information in the presentation about hallucinations, but I know that Luis loves to talk about this topic, so please, Luis.
Yeah, I also when let's say these generative AI technologies don't know the answer, and maybe you did not provide any context or how to deal with the answers that the generative AI doesn't know, then it will tell you something. This is true, especially, let's say, when you are fine tuning a model, because I remember that a few months ago we uh, let's say gave some session, and we fine tune a model to understand if some documents were from specific sports like hockey or baseball. And then I said, okay, let's just try this text, and it was something about Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and I thought that it would say, okay, this one belongs to either hockey or baseball, because when you, let's say, train a classical machine learning model, if you say these are my two classes, the output will be one of these two. But let's say it was a surprise that the generative AI model said, okay, this text belongs to soccer. And I was really surprised about it. I said, oh, okay, so it is kind of hallucinating, let's say, because it is out of the scope of what I was expecting. But no, let's say asked in the forums, and they told me, or the experts told me, no, actually it knows, it does not forget that it has some, let's say, knowledge. Uh, so it let's say goes with the best answer according, of course, to the technology. But of course, if I add some prompt engineering, that only these two results will be accepted. If it doesn't fit, you can instruct the let's say the GPT or your AI model to say, I don't know the answer, or it is neither any of those categories. Yeah, so we can also avoid these unexpected, let's say, answers or hallucination with prompt engineering. So this is one of also of the advantages, or why you should worry about prompt engineering. Maybe also I would add that it can save you tokens, let's say, in the output. It might cost you, yes, some tokens from the input, but the main advantage is, of course, the results that goes that you will get, let's say, closer to what you expect.
Thank you, Luis. I am seeing a question from Kirit about Azure
Mhm.
Open AI Studio. It's part of the resource, the Azure Open AI resource. You don't have to do nothing, only access the URL. You have the link in the resource summary in the Azure portal, and that's all. So I am going to share you a console program that I create using these techniques of prompt engineering. You can take the code from how about how to use the Azure OpenAI REST API from the chat playground in Azure OpenAI Studio. For example, I can write hello, and if I use this button, view code, I can get the code from 4 different programming languages. In my case, is C Sharp. I have the Nugget package and a sample of the implementation with this hello prompt. So that's what I did yesterday to create this sample. So I have the OpenAI client. I need the URL of my resource, the key that I, I have in the Azure OpenAI resource. This is the key. So I have the key stored in the OpenAI settings class. And it's important to send the REST API all the context about our conversation. So in this first message, I have only one message or one part of the conversation, one prompt, but um, uh, every time I send another prompt, I ask all the conversation, my first prompt, the response on the model, the second prompt, and I repeat the same for every of these prompts. So this is the biggest of this sample. Of course, send more prompts are the same as send more tokens and more money for us. So maybe you have to implement some kind of logic to erase or delete some of the old prompts to avoid the increases in the price. But because this is a very small program, I can send all the conversations. The objective of this program is to act as a marketing manager to plan a course. Yeah, I like marketing. I like to teach courses. So this make a lot of sense for me. And first, I ask the chat or the model to act as a marketing manager, and I tell them that it's the instructions or the desired results for this entire conversation. Your task is to create the marketing strategy for a course about technology topics. I will give you some information and I will ask you for specific information. Can you help me? So I am telling the model what is its role during the conversation. It's very, very important to use this information at the beginning. For example, if you are creating a chatbot that will be consumed by the end user, maybe you can tell the model to sign all the message as the AI assistant to let the user know that they are getting responses for an automatic uh, artificial intelligence. So I sent this one. We can debug the program to see step by step the prompt results. So this is the first one, the first prompt, and then I ask the user about the course topic because the model response was I'm happy to help you create a marketing strategy for your technology course. So the next prompt is related to the topic. So I am applying the delimiters technique. I have this section, topic, the desired topic, the user input, and the close is in XML tag. So I am using the limiters, and also I ask about the topic to validate if the model is using correct information. This is another technique. Sometimes it's important to ask the model for the topic before we start to ask more complex questions. And if we do that, we can get some information and we can validate if the model information related to the topic is correct. So, for example, what topic do you like, Luis, for a course?
Let's say .NET MAUI.
Okay, .NET MAUI development.
Mhm.
Okay, we can wait for the response. And this is the model response. .NET MAUI, multi-platform app UI, development is a course designed to educate students on creating cross-platform applications. It looks good.
Yes,
So,
yes. The introduction looks okay.
so we can continue with the next step. The next prompt is we are going to write the target down. So this is the next prompt. We're using delimiters in almost all of the prompts. Now we can let the model infer some information. In this case, I am telling the model the target audience of the course, but also I ask the model if the model think this is an appropriate audience for the course. Also, it's important to improve the prompts to ask the model to explain why the response it gives me is correct for the model. And also it's important to tell the model what to do when they don't know some information or when they know it knows the information. So that's why I tell the model answer with yes if the audience is appropriate. Otherwise, provide an appropriate audience in at most 5 words. This is the other technique that I told before to limit the response. So for example, I am going to tell the model the target audience are Java devs.
I was going also to suggest that. Let's say we want to crash the program. No, no, just kidding. But yeah, it can. It is a, let's say, nice, let's say, idea. Yeah, and you got it right.
Yes, a kind of a good response, but probably I need to improve the prompt because it's a very long
Mm,
response and I want
yes,
at most 5 words. So I need to apply the iterative process to improve
to
my
improve it.
my prompt.
Yes, yes. But at the beginning it says no. If you could also increase maybe a bit the or zoom in a bit, but it
Okay,
says no. .NET developers would be more appropriate. Yeah.
nice. Okay, that's.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, maybe I need to be more explicit about the explain it, no? Because
Hmm, hmm,
the target audience is less than 5 words, but the explanation about the audience,
hmm.
uh, it's more than 5 words. I can improve this. The next one. So, which topic would you like to cover in this course? No? This is the user input, and this is the next prompt. So I am going to structure the output because I am telling the model to provide a structure for the course in bullet points format divided in 4 models. Also, I am telling the model that the topic list is in this variable between topic list, but I give some additional information, another delimiter that is this pipe. So the user need to write the topics, what topics for .NET MAUI course, Luis?
Maybe UI,
UI,
uh, local
MVVM,
storage, MVVM, yeah,
local storage, is good,
maybe handlers,
handlers,
and
important one,
mhm, and I don't know,
uh,
push notification.
publication.
Okay, okay, yes, yes, publication. Okay, good.
Okay, that's all. And this is my course structure in 4 modules. Actually, it's using Markdown. No? I think it's Markdown
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm, yes.
of this. So Yeah, I think it looks good. A good .NET MAUI basic course. It's
Mhm.
well structured. What
Awesome.
do you think,
Yeah.
Luis?
Yes, yes. Every topic is divided into overview, how to do it, maybe some different ways to yeah. For example, for local storage, yeah, there is databases, there is preferences. So yeah, it actually says different methods. So and yeah, and hands-on, of course, if it's a development software development course, so there should be some practical part. So okay, yeah, it looks good, at least for
Okay.
basic. Mhm.
Remember that it's important to give the model all the context. That's why I am stacking all the conversation here. So the next step is to create a Facebook ads for the marketing strategy. I don't need any user input for this next prompt. And the prompt is write the ad text using the the AIDA model, like awareness, interest, desire, and action with a maximum of 200 words. But it's important, this is another technique that is covered in the Andrew Engine course, and it's the give the model time to think, options to think, because if you ask for a complete response using one sentence, the model will get confused or you can get a hallucination. So that's why I am telling the model to use the AIDA model, awareness, interest, desire, and action. But I explain the model how to apply that marketing model. So write a paragraph for awareness, write a paragraph for interest, desire, and action, because if I don't tell the model this, sometimes I got results like take this .NET MAUI course. We are going to learn how to create cross-platform application using awareness, interest, desire, and action. So that's not the desired
Mhm.
output. So it's important to
Yes, you want a
give the
detailed
model the chance
result.
to think to this is important in math operations, for example. So if you want to validate the result that it was calculated by the user, instead of telling the model to validate the problem and the result, give the model the step by step about how to calculate the problem and then you can tell the model to validate the user results. It's almost the same and maybe it makes more sense than this, but I got some bad responses because I don't use this technique in the past. Also, telling about the structure in the output in your response include a title, subtitle, and the alt text in the following format. And this is the desired format. So let's send the prompt to the model, creating a Facebook ad. This is the placeholder. And let me send the prompt. Because it's a complex prompt, it takes a few time to be processed.
Mhm. Yes. Meanwhile, we can maybe. Okay. Yes, I think you got it. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about this Facebook ad, meta ad now?
Yeah. So it has a title, subtitle, and then the description. And of course, it says, okay, this paragraph is for awareness, this one is for interest. So, awareness. Are you a .NET developer looking to expand your skills and diving? So, it makes you, why do I need to learn this, let's say, skill? So, it makes me aware of it. Then, interest, what it offers, some desire. Okay, yeah, take action also at the end. Okay.
Yes, it's. I
Good.
think it's a good response. You can improve it a lot, but taking in
Mhm.
account that it's a complex prompt, but not so complex for a marketing strategy, uh, we we get a good
Mhm.
meta ad text
Yes,
description and
yes.
subtitles,
You, you,
subtitles.
you get some starting points, so you can polish it, improve it, and then of course present it to the, let's say, to your boss.
Yes, that's why it's important the iterative process, testing
Mhm.
the results, and uh, I made some tests before this prompt, and sometimes I got different results, different mm, ads, but they have different structure in this part about the awareness, interest, desire, action. Sometimes I got this in parentheses. Sometimes I don't get any related to this, only the structure that complies, sometimes does not comply with my instructions. So in this case, the best result for me was when I add these steps.
Yes, well, now that you mention it, don't forget that there is also some randomness, or this generative AI adds or includes a stochastic process. So that means that the output that you get is not the same, let's say, each time. Um, of course, part of the input or parameters that you can configure is the temperature. So depending if a value is 0 or 1, you can get a curative or maybe some fixed responses. However, you will never get the same results. So Humberto said that sometimes you get maybe this between parentheses, or now it is between these two asterisks, but maybe next time you would get awareness and then a colon, or maybe dash, or something different. So it is part, let's say, of the creativity. So yeah.
Yes, we have some variables to adjust the creativity, like temperature.
Mhm.
So we can read all of descriptions here in the Azure OpenAI portal or Azure OpenAI Studio, like temperature, controls randomness, like
Mhm.
as Luis told us. And of course, we have top P, similar to temperature. The recommendation is this or this, not both at the same time, but we can control the randomness of the responses using these variables.
Awesome.
And the last one is to create a simple website for our course. The prompts has the technique about structuring the output, and again give the model the chance to process the instructions in small parts. So I need a website for the course. Please respond with HTML and include basic CSS that I can save directly as a file. Wrap the HTML between dashes and include a header, course description, table of topics, description of the course audience, and benefits of the course. So I am going to send the last prompt, and we can wait for the website. Actually, I am saving the response in this file, so we can see the result in the web browser. And
Interesting.
this
And
is
there is, mhm,
C# logic only to parse the response.
yes, there is actually a question by Sue Venkat. Can we create a prompt where I can read the data on the fly, say a web page? So, for example, yeah, let's say like this one that you just generated, or maybe you create some other program, right, that reads the source code of a website and summarize the information in 1 or 2 sentences. So it's definitely possible.
Yes, I'm not sure if the model can do it. I think GPT, the OpenAI implementation,
Mhm.
have this kind of functionality. I am not sure if Azure OpenAI has the option to read an URL, but because we have the control in code, we can make the HTTP client request to the website and send the result as part of the conversation. So we have that option if the model doesn't have the capabilities to parse the
Very good.
URL, visit, and get information.
Oh, okay, awesome. And yeah, you got the website. Okay, so we will see
I
what
can
was the
see.
output. Mhm.
Okay, let me look for the response in Finder. I need to change the desktop. This is the bin debug.net 7 folder, and I think is this night
Yep.
55. This is the website. It's .NET MAUI development course, the course description, the topics, target audience, and benefits of the course, with a little CSS for the header. No? Maybe it's not so clear this gray and white background, but it has a few CSS implementation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got an HTML file, so this is pretty impressive. Of course, it was very basic, like, but it includes, let's say, the text, the information. So again, it is a starting point. So then you can add some image, some background. I mean, but you got the foundation, the basic information from what you want, and in matter of minutes.
Sure, for example, I can add to my prompt the company colors or something similar to improve the response of the model. So there's a lot of work to do
Mhm.
for this sample project, but it's a good starting point.
Mhm. Yes,
So,
yes.
and that's all for this small sample, applying some of the techniques. There's a lot of space to improve it, but that's the next steps for you in your learning process.
Yes, definitely. No, thank you very much, Humberto, for this great presentation. It was really amazing. I would like to ask the audience, what do you think about it? But yeah, okay.
Okay, let me share again the learning resource. I think it's a really, really good course. The first one, it's free, so you can learn a lot more about prompt engineering for software developers. I think that's the most important part of that course. It's created for software developers and not for ChatGPT users or the web UI users.
Mhm. Awesome. Yes. So yeah, now it is, let's say, your turn. Let's say to the audience that if you um, know how to implement OpenAI, now let's improve our prompt with this great presentation and also resources. So, well, I think there are no more questions. We let's say already answers to the two questions that were there. So, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Humberto, for these amazing demos.
Thank you all, Luis, Alexia, and all of the attendees. Thank you for to be here to stay all the session.
Okay, so see you next week. We will have Jesus, our very good friend Jesus, who will tell us how to work, let's say, with our own data. So see you next time. Have a good one.